We're in.
We're in for now.
All right.
So, this is the inaugural episode of TriangleCast where we attempt to bend, break, or hack the rules and understand how to better live the lifestyle that we want. We're going to be talking to a lot of different entrepreneurs. I'm Jason Guigno.
I'm Corey Jeffries, entrepreneur by trade.
Yeah, I am not an entrepreneur by trade, so I'm hoping I can learn a thing or two from Corey as we go through all this. So
Absolutely.
The idea is that we're going to eventually have like 500 episodes out there.
Yeah, something like that.
We're like a bootleg version of Tim Ferris.
There
and
we
there's
go.
two of us.
So we should be able to do it better than him, right?
I mean, ideally,
Like,
yeah.
Tim's pretty big deal.
And so we both have day jobs currently. Corey's in IT.
Yes, IT. Been doing that for 5 years. Recently jumped into entrepreneurship about 3 years ago.
Okay.
When I kind of figured out my paycheck wouldn't cut it,
Okay.
and family, just have to make some extra income.
So you jumped into entrepreneurship because of an immediate need.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Let's explore that a little bit too. The idea, and I think it would make sense for both of us to talk about what we're hoping to achieve here, what we're looking for out of the podcast.
Yeah.
The idea is to have an excuse to talk to some fascinating people, and that's whether they've started their own business like yourself,
Exactly.
or they have figured out how to automate all the things they don't like about their day job and the work that they have to do every day, or even people that have sacrificed to create a sustainable lifestyle.
Right.
And I think we both know a few different people that we can bring on here from varying industries, varying backgrounds, and maybe through the course of all that, we're both going to learn a few lessons.
Exactly. And just to jump back on our tagline, bend, break, or hack, I mean, that's life. If you want to get somewhere, you have to bend some rules, break some rules, hack some things. And that's kind of what we're doing right now. We're actually on our lunch break from our job. So we're actually, I don't think we're breaking any rules, but just hacking into some things, utilizing our lunch break versus sitting in the office eating, wasting time.
That's a really good point. Yeah. So we are using a 10-year-old Toshiba laptop with Windows Vista.
Man, this thing's beastie.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. It's about 14 pounds. Then we've got a pretty inexpensive microphone here that we got off Amazon for like $30.
Yeah.
And you'll see behind us, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and work from home folks that are here at the Frontier in RTP.
Yeah, this is the first time I actually heard about this building, so it's very, very, very good to go. It's
amazing. Yeah. It's free. We've rented this room for free, so we should definitely shout out # the Frontier.
Absolutely.
At RTP. We're here on a Friday, and they've got a bunch of food trucks out there. So essentially,
if you're in the area, come on by.
Yeah, come on by and visit. Come by and talk to us. But ideally, I mean, would be a pretty neat lifestyle, I think, to have.
Absolutely. I could do this every day. I wake up, man. Come here, work.
Be surrounded by creative people filled with energy that are doing their own thing, writing their own rules.
Absolutely.
So, how did we start this, man? I'll let you take that. How did this thing get started in the first place? I just know all of a sudden we got a janky laptop and we're recording. How did we get here?
Well, I really think it came from just two separate ideas floating around. I'm an entrepreneur. I always look for creativity in people. I look for what can we do to move forward. I don't like sitting idle. When I first met you at Monica's birthday party, I knew it was something about you. You were very energetic, had a lot of energy, and everyone loved you. They gravitated towards you. So I was like, interesting. And then when you said you were coming back to work at the job we're at now, I was okay, not paying any attention. And then sure enough, a few weeks later, you were there. Yeah. So I figured I'd reach out to you and kind of see what you were into, especially that you were into sales. And sales is key to any business. So just us kind of linking up, putting two different perspectives together makes for something great.
And are you also trying to learn more about sales as a craft?
Absolutely, because if I don't sell, I won't survive.
Okay. So maybe we can learn some stuff from each other, right?
Absolutely.
And maybe we can teach you.
Yeah, you.
Where's the sword over there? Maybe we can teach you something. So, I mean, let's jump into it, man. From my perspective, I was really fascinated by your background as well, because we work at the same place as our day job. I knew Corey handled IT, but upon a little bit further conversation, I found out the guy's got his own business where he drops inflatables off for kids' birthday parties and community events. And not only does he have this business, but he's automated a lot of it.
Yes.
So he's created passive income, which is something that I've never been able to do. So I want to talk a little bit about that, man. So how did how did you get into this business in the first place, or why did you get into the business of inflatable castles and bounce houses?
Well, it really wasn't the particular business. It was just the model I was trying to create.
Okay.
So I was looking for passive income. What really got me into this this realm is I used to be a grandma's boy. So I would rent to grandma anytime I needed anything. And, she would cut me a check or whatever I needed help with. She was there. And eventually grandma got Alzheimer's and we had to put her in the nursing home. So I wasn't really able to, run to her anymore. So then I had to man up and figure out something.
Yourself.
Yes, I had to fend for myself.
Okay.
And so I finally got out and started reading books like by Robert Kiyosaki. I read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Just a bunch of books and kind of fell into that realm of just needing assets that created income. So that's kind of how I got into it. I found the bounce house to be the most profitable because you would buy it one time and you would just continue renting it out, and that's just income that continues to come in. Now, when I first started, there was nothing automated. I was doing everything.
Okay.
So from setting it up, answering customer phone calls, just doing everything. So kind of running in circles and burning myself out. I came across Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Work Week.
Mm-hmm.
It's
a favorite of mine.
Yeah, that's a good book, and that just kind of changed my my life and my perspective of how I looked at things. I wanted to automate and spend more time with my family. So now I'm at a point where, just like today, I have a virtual assistant that works for me, and she's working today. So if we get phone calls or anything, the business is still up and running, and I still have my free time.
Okay.
So
so you could be working your day job and your virtual assistant will take the phone call, handle account management?
Exactly. Yes. So I train her on how to do everything that needs to be done. And I'm not bothered by customers each day. Now, I don't mind, working with my customers.
No, it sounds like you don't like customers, though.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's what
I like the customers that are easy to deal with.
Oh, okay. Well, so if I understand this, what you're saying is the product didn't really matter as much as what you wanted was something that was a low entry cost. So how did you settle specifically on bounce houses, though? Like, at what point were you looking at this big inflatable castle? Like, that's the kind of business I want to get into. I
went took my son to one of his friends' birthday parties one day, and they just had this bounce house out there, and I started pondering, I wonder how much that costs, who came out to set this up, what's the process?
Yeah.
But I'm more of a process guy versus, overthinking. So my thought was, how did it get out here? How much did they pay? Who's coming to pick it up? Who brought it out here, and so forth. So just kind of a process, operations type thought thinking.
Yeah. That's really smart, man. And I mean, from my perspective, I've never been able to really create much of a passive income.
Mm-hmm.
The best I ever did was I did some writing for Examiner.com.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Like pennies per click, and I had to do that completely by their structure.
Yeah. Now, see, the way to turn that into passive income would be to hire writers.
So I get hired as a writer, and then I pay them to write for me.
Exactly. So then you wouldn't have to do any work, and they would just turn the work into you because you're paying them for a service.
So that's what's fascinating. So do you think you could replicate what you're doing with inflatables with other products?
Absolutely. I can take this process and do it with anything.
Okay.
So
another thing that's interesting to me about that is you're in IT.
Yes.
I've been in IT staffing for years, and I can tell you that people, whether they're on the system side or the application development side, they can end up making a really nice income just by going along that career path, learning different technologies, becoming a specialist in different areas.
Right.
But that's not for you.
No, it's I kind of came to a roadblock when I got my first real job in IT, and the company I was working at, they didn't really have any growth or any room for me to grow, and then I finally got laid off, and it was I got laid off. I was the best worker. Everybody loved me. No complaints, and it was just kind of like I was up here, and then they just cut me. It was a budget cut, so it was no control of my own.
To a lot of people.
Yes, and right around the time I was starting my company, I realized that I don't have any say-so. So I can't fight for what's not mine. So they can come in and say, you're gone. I can't fight that because it's their company. Yeah. They have to make those decisions. So that's based off of survival for them, not for me.
Yeah.
So
it's the idea of writing your own rules.
Yes.
Instead of working by somebody
else's. Yes.
And I think it's going to be important, and maybe it's not today, but at some point we talk about the concept of skills that are fungible and can be taken to other organizations and your network and all that. Absolutely. But I want to dig into, that's twice you've mentioned that you going into business on your own was led by a need.
Yes.
so it wasn't Corey kind of hanging out at the pool thinking like, man, I'd like to start a business.
Yeah.
So you at some point said, my income's not paying my bills.
Exactly.
And you decided you want to strike out on your own.
Yes.
What was that point? Like, at what point are you sitting there? When is that like lightning bolt hit when you're thinking, my current income's not going to do it, my current situation's not going to do it, I've got to make a change?
Again, I think it was just kind of over time. Like I said, my grandmother not being my financial bank anymore, her not being there, me being a man at 22, 23, having to take care of a family, making sure that there's a roof over our head, make sure that we're eating. Those things just kind of sparked, it was a slow spark, I would say.
Well, there's some people that they would just put everything on credit cards,
right?
And roll it over. So did you do some of that?
No, I used my tax money to get started. Got a tax refund, and I just used that to get started. I mapped everything out before I got started, which is very important because if you don't map it out, then you could fall into a hole. And
what do you mean by mapping it out?
So you have to at least have a plan in place.
Okay.
Because all your plans are I'm not going to say they're going to fail, but there's a chance that they can fail. So you have to have something in place, that says if A doesn't work, I'm going to go to B. If B doesn't work, I'm going to go to C. So when I purchased the bounce house, my plan was if I didn't make my money back in X amount of months, then I would just sell it.
Okay.
So I would still make some income, and I would just sell it, make my money back, and go do something else.
And it would retain a good chunk of its value in the meanwhile.
Yes.
Interesting. So what were your startup costs?
My first startup cost was $800 for the first bounce house.
Mm-hmm.
6 to 9 months later, I made all my income back from what I spent on the bounce house. I just kind of snowballed from there. Went and purchased my second one. Got some tables and chairs, generator, popcorn machine. So just taking the money that I made and putting it back into the business and purchasing more assets. So now, when I go to my balance sheet, for my personal life and my business life, I have more things that are producing income versus things that are just dormant or not making income. So let's say somebody had $800 and they went to buy a TV, big screen TV, $800, or
what are you 65 inches?
Yeah. So what are you going to do with it? Just sit there and watch TV?
Yeah,
that's not producing.
It'd be great.
Yeah, I mean it'd be awesome, but it's not producing any income.
Yeah.
My thought process is why not purchase something else that can generate some income, take the income from that, and then purchase a TV.
That's a bit of the Miyazaki school of thought too.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that is.
Didn't you say Robert Miyazaki?
Kiyosaki.
Thank you. Miyazaki's I'm smart. I know things. Yeah, Kiyosaki. I'm sorry, the Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's a bit of his philosophy, though, and he would apply that to property.
Absolutely.
So you're taking that same model.
Yes.
With inflatable bounce houses.
Yes, and then, like I said, you can take that with anything. You just want things that produce income. And one of his key points was like home ownership. You never really own your home because you always have to pay taxes on it. Insurance. So when you don't pay those things, they come and take it from you. So if you don't pay the mortgage, but if it's a rental property, then it's an asset because it produces income.
Okay.
And it's just like his philosophy with the bank is that, the bank is more interested in lending out money versus you putting your money with them because they pay you interest, which is a small chunk, 1 or 2%, if not less than that. So they're paying you this small amount and they're lending out tons of money to other people and they're making a killing. And they can lend out like imaginary money from what is being said. So
yeah. So this inflatable business, was that the first business you ever started?
No, actually, the first business I started was bubble gum. I was selling bubble gum or candy in elementary school, and I used to ride the bus to school. So I would just buy a bag of candy.
Talking about like Bazooka Joe?
Yes, absolutely.
The comics and everything.
Absolutely.
Those were a nickel at 7-Eleven when I grew up in Jersey.
Yeah, they were. I used to buy the big bag for like $3 or $4.
Okay.
Out of one of the local stores we had, I would just go on the bus and just sell it for like 15, 20 cents
per piece of candy.
Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of money would you be making?
It was small change, maybe about $3 or $4. I mean, that was a lot.
Big deal, though.
To me, it's a big deal. Yeah, I could buy some cookies or something off the snack bar.
So is that what you used with it? You used it to buy more cookies?
Yeah,
and then occasionally reinvest in
I would reinvest. Candy? Yeah, I would go buy more candy. It didn't last too long, but it was just that kind of funded the idea for me down the road, kind of laid the path for me.
Yeah. You didn't diversify your product line. You weren't like, now we're going to get some ring pops and some candy cigarettes and some other.
Nah, I stuck to the bubble gum and I think maybe some chocolate here and there, but mostly bubble gum.
Okay.
Yeah.
What drove you to do that? I mean, at what point, again, at what point was there that spark that said, I should sell candy to these other kids? Because I at no point in my childhood was I like, oh, you know what? I'm going to sell candy to other kids for cash. I would rather go looking on the ground for dropped nickels or dollars or that kind of thing.
Search the couch.
Yeah, it just didn't occur to me. Let me buy a bag of candy and sell it to my friends.
I really don't know. When I grew up, my grandmother had me doing bills. I was doing all types of house stuff, so I was an adult way before my age.
Okay.
I knew how to write a checkbook out. I knew how to balance a checkbook, do bills, clean, wash dishes. So I was more grown in my younger days. So
dude, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother too.
Yeah.
I called her Nana.
Nana.
It's always tough to admit that to people you work with. Yeah, my Nana. But same kind of thing, man. I think it's really nice to have that exposure when you're a little kid to folks that lived through the Great Depression.
Absolutely.
And various other points in history.
Yeah.
Completely different perspective that they're able to share.
Absolutely. I saw a picture on Facebook the other day about shelling peas with grandma.
Okay.
I used to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like green beans and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just that experience as being young actually brought me to this point in life. When I was in ninth grade, we had an economics class, and I was the only one who knew how to write out a check, which was shocking to me. I was like, how do you not know? It's all right there.
Yeah.
Just sign it, put the name, write the amount, the date. But nobody could grasp that concept. So
yeah,
it's just
they definitely don't teach you about compounding interest.
No, none of that.
Or, yeah. So, what kinds of lessons did you learn by selling candy on the bus?
I definitely learned that women have a way of getting their way.
Women have a way of getting their way.
Yes. There was this girl on the bus. So. It was funny. There was a girl on the bus, and she looked good. She was one of the better looking girls on the bus. And so,
you were how old again?
Man, I don't know. I was young. Maybe 9, 10.
She's 9 years old.
Yeah,
you're 9 years old, and she's like, is that a good-looking 9-year-old?
Yeah. And I was like, she asked me for some free candy.
Okay.
And at first, I was like, no, because, I'm selling this. And I started thinking about it. I was like, maybe if I just, So I gave her some free candy.
She's going to think you're a big shot.
Yeah.
You share some candy with her.
Exactly. I'm the man on the bus.
And you're like, listen, I've got bountiful amounts of Bazooka Joe bubblegum that
Exactly.
Okay. How did that work out for you?
It didn't work out. She said she was going to pay me back and never did. So
okay.
I kind of learned that about women, too.
About women in general?
Yes.
That's dangerous territory. I can't agree or disagree with that. Though, I'm in sales, and I will tell you that there are a lot of people that work that angle.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't need to say women. There's a lot of people that will work being physically attractive towards their sales success. So did you ever pursue the debt that she owed? Remind her a couple times, hey, you owe me some cash?
Nah.
You let her get away with it because she was good looking?
Yes.
Okay. You ever fall into that trap again?
No.
Never again in your entire life?
No.
So that's a good lesson to learn when you're 9 then, man. I feel like I was making up those mistakes until I started dating my future wife.
Yeah.
You,
money's, you can produce money. That's not a problem. So I never look at money as like the chokehold, it's like it just comes, it goes. You can create any amount of money at any given time.
Really?
Yeah.
So see, that's the type of stuff that I want to dig deeper into.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a crazy concept. Think about that. You can create any amount of money at any time.
Yeah. You think about it. Just like today, I sent you an email, and you saw my signature, and it had my book in it.
That's true. And I clicked on it.
Yeah, you clicked on it. So
I walked over. I said, "Dude, you wrote a book?"
Yeah, and you didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
So just at any given point in time, like my book's on Amazon. So
why don't you plug it, man? What's your book called?
Oh, it's called what is it called?
So that's just, you're like, I'm going to put this product out there.
It's just something
somebody else is going to buy it.
It's called How to Make Money with No Money Down.
We'll edit that in there. We're going to just cut out the part where you're like, I forget. That's one of my multi-lines of revenue.
Yeah, but it's called How to Make Money with No Money Down, Leveraging Your Resources. Mm-hmm. One of the stories I talk about in there is how to actually, me and a buddy of mine, we started a furniture business with no money out of pocket.
Okay.
And this is pretty funny because we used to work at the same company, and maybe a month or two afterwards, we were on Facebook, and they have like these yard sale sites. And so somehow we linked up, but I found some free stuff on Craigslist. And no, actually, it was a plant that was sitting by the dumpster outside my apartment complex, and it was a plant and a table. And so I took this plant and table. The table just needed like a screw or something, so I popped the screw in there. Perfect. I turned around and sold it at the end of that day for like $10.
Okay.
Not a lot, but that concept just kind of drove me to say, I can get free stuff and then sell it to make money. Mm-hmm. And so me and my buddy, we linked up like a week later, and we went to Durham, I believe it was, and we got a free couch. and we turned around and sold the couch for about $75. And then
awesome.
we just kept that process going until we got a storage unit. I think our biggest score was we got a nice furniture set out of North Raleigh for free, and we sold it the next day for like $1.50.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
I
I've had a similar experience when I was probably at my lowest from a financial standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Living in about a 500 square foot apartment, real tiny, man. Like the bathroom was in the bedroom. It was one of those, like, if you had a guest over and they need to use the restroom, you just walk through there and make a left. Tiny washer and dryer,
Gotcha.
right? And but what I had was a bunch of junk.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Nintendo from when I was a kid. I had a place. Yeah,
which Nintendo?
Like the NES, man, the gray one.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Blow your lungs out.
yeah. So like I had one of those sitting around, sold that on eBay, sold a bunch of games on eBay. But the same thing occurred to me at some point is I'm turning around selling these things for $15 or more, and then you can buy them at a garage sale for a quarter, $2 in some cases. And that was a nice little bit of income. Now it wasn't as passive as what you've designed, but it was a stopgap. Yeah. Right.
And that was one of the reasons why that business didn't survive. And I told my partner at the time that I said, this business is not, we can't make this business passive. And, I told him that, and we continued working it, brought in some extra income for his family, my family. Okay. But it just wasn't passive. And when I'm looking for passive, I have to be able to create the system and then remove myself. And if I can't remove myself, then it doesn't work. Because we were also going to storage auctions. And one of the storage auctions was actually really good because I got it for $50. And the first item I sold out of it was I sold it for like 60 or 70. So I broke, made my money back, and then all the other stuff after that was just kind of profit.
But at what point did you decide this isn't a good day job, though? Because there's reality shows about those guys that go to the storage auctions, and they run their whole business based on that. So I
was actually doing that during the time I was out of work, and when I actually got back into work, it kind of fell off. Okay, I had to be there to go pick up the stuff. Or he did. So
another good point, though. So you were out of work at the time, and you were using it as a means to get by.
Exactly.
Okay, I mean that's as opposed to racking up credit card debt and all that sort of stuff. I can respect that, man.
Yes.
Absolutely. I always have the Jason Guigno laid off backup plan, and what it would be is pretty much studying, learning another language, whether that's programming or Spanish. But it gives me that time, frees up that time to learn another language, focus on physical fitness, spend time with my family, build out potentially a side business. To your point, something that costs very little to start.
Yes.
And you have nothing but time at that point.
Exactly, time. So, just given like any weekend, I can go spend time with my family. I not have to worry about working, but I still have income coming in. Yeah. And that's the hack part of your life. Yeah. Where you hack it.
Well, see, and I dig that. And that's ultimately what I want, is to be able to spend that time with my family, watch my kids grow up, and not have to spend all my time working for somebody else. Now, I love what I do right now.
Exactly.
And I just recently came back to the company after working somewhere where I was putting in easily like 55, 60 hours a week, and I just wasn't really feeling successful. I wasn't feeling great, wasn't feeling creative. And now coming back to an organization with some better work-life balance, and meeting some really smart people while I'm back there, changes everything. Yeah. So for me, I like the idea of creating passive income. Right. I'm pretty content where I am right now, but I know that I'm not going to be.
Yes,
for the rest of my life. At some point, there's going to be some side, and who knows what it is. Maybe it's podcasting, maybe it's video editing, maybe it's selling 10-year-old janky laptops.
Could be. Yeah. So let me ask you a question.
Sure, man.
If I were to give you $10,000 today, what would you do with it?
I'd probably, knowing what I know right now, I would probably invest it.
What would you invest in?
I would probably invest it in, divide it up between a couple of mutual funds. Income fund, growth fund, to kind of take the Dave Ramsey approach, right? Divide it up between a couple of different funds. So I mean that's not ideal, right? No. But it's not a bad way to use that money. Maybe I'll get 8% return on it annually.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So my thing is, I was talking to an advisor one day, and she was going over all these numbers, compound interest, and I'm a fan of compound interest. But she was going over these numbers, and she's like, if you save this, and this, by the time you're 65, you'll see like $1 million. Okay. And that it wasn't interesting to me, because it's like I can take that same amount of money and I can start a business. I can buy assets. I can, buy whatever it is, hustle and I could easily see $1 million. So I could do it on my own versus putting it in there. And one of my philosophies is that I don't, fight for something that I don't own. So you put your money in the stock market and it fluctuates. You don't control that. So if some company goes down, or let's say that the stock just plummets, you didn't have any say so.
Which I've seen that happen.
Yes, and you didn't have any say so.
Yep.
But with my bounce house company, I get to tell people what to do. How my money's going to work, what we're putting money for budgeting. We're getting new equipment here. So I have control and I have say so.
Okay.
At work, if my manager comes and says, hey, I need you to do X, Y, Z, or, I need you to do this, I could, not agree with it, but it's his company. I have to do what he say, what they say because they're paying me. Okay. And so with me, I get to tell people what to do because I'm paying them. So if I say, hey, do X, Y, Z, they do it and they're getting paid. Okay. And I realize that as long as you're paying somebody, they'll do what you tell them to do. Okay. And that's pretty, it's a good concept because you can ask a family or friend to do something for you. And if you're not paying them, they're going to take their sweet purchase time. Yeah. And I found that out by just asking people to do stuff for me. Yeah. And, I find that I get a better response with my employees because I'm paying them and they do what I say.
So I'm going to flip the question back around on you, but first I want to remind people that you can go to TriangleCast.com to find out upcoming guests, upcoming topics for shows. You can go follow us on Twitter, TriangleCast on Twitter.
Instagram.
As well as Instagram too. Corey's going to handle the Instagram side of things because I'm too old for that stuff, man.
I'm part millennial.
Yeah, I think I'm part millennial too. I'm 36 right now, which puts me right somewhere on the cusp. Somewhere. Then the thing coming after millennials is centennials, is what they're calling it, or Generation Z.
I think I'm part of that, maybe just by default.
I don't know, man. I think it's all BS.
Could be.
I think it's all BS. Yeah. I think millennials get a bad rap.
Yeah, they kind of do.
Yeah. So like I said, let me flip it around on you. So I give you $10,000 right now. What do you do with it? What do you build out? Do you buy a dozen more inflatables? What do you do?
I mean, the possibilities are endless. I could go buy 2 or 3 more inflatables. Do a little more marketing. I could go buy a moving truck and start a moving company. Okay. I could go buy or put some money down in real estate. Just get a loan and put down part of it. On real estate. I could go flip some cars. Go buy some cars.
Have you ever done that before?
I haven't bought a car before and flipped it. Not like just straight out, but I've
conceptually you understand how it works.
Yes, yes. I could go buy some products. Actually, I was telling you earlier about when the smartphones first came out. Yeah. And you can find this in my book, How to Start a Business with No Money Down.
We'll provide a link for that on the TriangleCast.com.
It's $199.
$199 for a book?
No, $1.99.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so when the smartphones first came out, I was telling you this earlier, they were selling batteries for like $50 to extend the battery life because, battery only lasted for like 4 hours when the smartphones first came out. So I was working at a cell phone store at the time, and I saw they were selling the batteries for like $50. Okay. So I went on eBay, and I found the same batteries for $7. And I would turn around and sell them on Craigslist for like $30. Okay. And so I was, for that time frame when the batteries weren't, working well, I was making a killing. So anywhere from that time, I made about $3,000 to $4,000. Okay. Just flipping cell phone batteries.
And that's side income.
Side income.
From your day job.
Yes.
That's really interesting. So what do you think it is? I mean, is it born entrepreneurship where you will see these opportunities and act on them? Because it seems like to me that you've had multiple times, it was the candy when you were a kid, it's the inflatable bounce houses, it's the cell phone batteries, where you look and you seem to recognize that there's a market for this. That there's a gap. Is there some kind of method that you use? Is there some sort of way that your brain goes about processing this, or is it just hits you like inspiration?
I try to go from A to Z. So if I see an opportunity, first I have to make sure it's a good long-term opportunity. Okay. As of right now, anything that I do is probably short-term, just to keep cash flowing in.
You said doo-doo.
Doo.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, so I look for long-term opportunities. So like my bounce house business, this is going to be long-term. It's passive right now, and I'm outside of the business and I'm not inside the business. So long-term, it's a good play. I can just continue adding inventory, continue, adding more people to work it for me. Okay. And I just keep going that route, and the business just keeps growing. So it's long term. Eventually, I'll get a brick and mortar location, set up like a trampoline park. Just to keep it going long term.
I think there's big money. In things that help children expend all that energy that they have.
And I didn't know this before I got started, but Wake County has the largest school district in North Carolina. Okay. So I kind of hit the jackpot without knowing. Yeah. So that's very good for me.
So maybe we'll get a little more granular on that as well. So you realize that you're in a good market. You've got a product that people are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like our video stopped recording, but that's fine.
Yeah,
we've got enough to at least put something on YouTube, maybe.
Yeah.
Get some people interested in what we're doing here. So you've mentioned that you're in this great area. How do you go about marketing the product? How do you get the message out there?
So we normally do Craigslist, Facebook, anywhere I can advertise. I'm advertising. Thumbtack's one of my bigger advertising avenues.
Okay.
And
what is Thumbtack?
It's a where you go. So let's say you wanted to rent a bounce house for your kid's birthday party.
Okay.
So you would go to the site and type, search for a bounce house. They would send that request to Thumbtack, and there are a bunch of other vendors on the site. So whoever responds first, will more than likely get that quote.
I think I've heard about this. One of my neighbors used it to get a tree pulled.
Yeah. So and then it costs us to actually respond to you. It's like $3 to respond to you.
Okay.
Once we respond, we have to make sure everything looks good, because we want to make sure that we at least have the chance to earn your business. Okay. So I could respond to 3 or 4 people, and they don't respond back, then I just wasted $12.
Okay.
So with that being said, Thumbtack's, like I said, one of our bigger places where we get business from. Okay. So being the first one to respond is important, and that's why I have a virtual assistant. So I can't respond to Thumbtack when I'm working. If I'm actually doing work, I can't respond. Yeah. And so she'll.
Well, you could. I'm saying ethically you don't want to because you are dedicated to your day job. Yeah. But there are people out there that they might be miserable at their day job, man, like I was 6 months ago, right? Where they wouldn't mind using that time to check their Gmail or respond to something. Is there a Thumbtack app?
Yes, there's a Thumbtack app. But what I do is, the way my business is set up, everything is where I can spot check it. So if we miss a phone call, I get a text or email. If somebody emails in, I get to see the email. My favorite email is the one that says I just got paid. Okay. I love that email. It's the best one ever. Okay. If we have like customer complaints, someone writes in, I get to hear complaints. Okay. So just overall being able to spot check is what's important. So you set up the system and then you're able to just spot check here and there. Okay. How do you invoice? We use a company called Wave Apps.
Wave Apps. So this is instead of using like a PayPal, for instance.
Yes.
So it's called Wave Apps.
Yes, Wave Apps. And so we invoice our customers. They put a deposit down, and then the day of the event or the day before, we just request the remaining amount.
Why do you use Wave Apps instead of PayPal?
I don't know. Okay. I just chose Wave Apps over PayPal. I have no idea. There's no logic behind it.
Maybe you need to, just as due diligence, see what the other service is, right?
Well, I'm familiar with PayPal. I don't know. There's no logical answer to that. Oh, I just prefer Wave Apps.
I mean, sometimes it could be an interface. People buy what they like better. Yeah. So, what about your virtual assistant? How did you go about locating your virtual assistant?
So I forget what the website was called before, but it's now called Upwork.com. Okay. And I hired her from there. And then she just works for me on specific jobs. Like she's actually working today. She's actually supposed to be updating some advertising for me here shortly. So
that's pretty cool. Is she U.S. based?
Yes, she is U.S. based out of California.
That's pretty cool, man. So these are all things I didn't even know about Thumbtack before. Didn't know about Wave Apps, Upwork. We'll provide links for all of those on TriangleCast.com in the show notes. Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. We've covered how you got the product. We cover how you market the product, and we cover how you invoice. What about how you transport it there?
So I hired someone to actually do that for me.
They have their own truck and everything?
Yes, own truck, contractor.
So you don't have the liability of actually having this equipment either?
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes.
Okay.
So, because I used to do all of that, and there was one Saturday I was supposed to take my son to the park. We got a last minute call for a bounce house rental, and I was like, yeah. It was just kind of like, I go make the money, I go spend the time with my son, and, I chose to go make the money. So we didn't end up making it to the park. But after that day, I kind of made it a priority to be able to spend time, with my son on the weekend.
That's good, because, if he was all messed up in the future, then you'd always be looking back on that day.
Yeah.
Like he's in prison, and he's like, Dad, why couldn't you have just not made the $300?
Yeah. So, I think it's very important that we have the ability to spend time with our families.
You know what I like about that, though, too, is it's not making money for the sake of making money. It's making money so that you can have the lifestyle that you want, that you can spend that time with your family. And I'm in the same boat, man. I have a luxury car would be great. I would love a Tesla Model S, right? At the same time, that's not what's important, right?
No,
that's a means of transportation.
Absolutely.
I've always looked at money not as the goal, but money is the means to achieving the goal.
Yeah, and I'll touch on, just because you mentioned the Tesla, there was a point in my life where I came to realization that it's not about the materialistic things. So I was riding past a car lot one day, and my dream car is an S550 Mercedes-Benz.
Okay.
I love that car, hands down.
Okay.
I'm going to get that car one day.
Okay.
And I was riding past the parking lot, and my mindset just shifted. I said, instead of wanting to have the nicest car on the lot, I want to know how to own the car lot. And that was kind of a paradigm shift for me. It was like, instead of being on the consumer side, I want to be on the business owner side. I want to know, what was the process? How do you get those cars? Who do you talk to get a loan? What's that process? And so from kind of there on, it was kind of, how do I own these processes?
Yeah.
So
I'm simpatico with you on that as well, man. It's the same thing from a writing standpoint. I would read so many things, and it just drove me nuts how they were written. Whether it be a blog post that was written in an annoying third person, first person point of view, I just thought I can do better than that. And the same thing I think with this podcast. It's the idea of when in your spare time, you could be a consumer. You can consume information, you can watch TV, you can go out and buy stuff, or you can be a creative and you can make things that other people might be interested in and potentially could drive some income.
Right.
Because I think even in putting this together, there's that discovery process of how are we going to record? What's the equipment? What are our startup costs? How are we going to distribute this thing?
Absolutely.
I haven't figured that out yet. Yeah. Hopefully I'll have it figured out. I mean, if people are listening to this, then we've figured that aspect out.
I think it's more of once the customer, grabs onto it, and you just keep giving them something to go about. We'll give them something that's entertaining. We'll give them something that's knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. We're teaching. So there's no way that they, you wouldn't want to listen.
Yeah.
Because you're learning, you're being educated, you're learning how to get the white picket fence, Okay. And that's what I'm going for. And,
the white picket fence?
The white. I don't
want to live in the suburbs with the white picket fence. And
I would prefer a wooden fence.
Okay. I just like the idea of these folks that can work anywhere.
Yeah.
You read you've read 4 Hour Work Week, and I think at some point the guy was in Belize.
Yeah, somewhere just exotic, just
rented an apartment in Argentina for 9 months.
Yeah.
And I like that idea as a lifestyle, but also for my family. I've never been to Europe. Never been to Europe. And so the idea of going there and setting up there for a while, and then my family still being able to be supported, but to be able to learn that aspects of life would be fantastic. So I think for right now, we should wrap it up.
All right.
We've hit our time limit, but then it also gives us more to talk about next time, because what I want to discuss next time is what you would do differently from starting the business, right? Mm-hmm. So you've had all your startup costs. We haven't talked about any of the real trials and tribulations.
No, we haven't.
There's bound to have been problems. So there's been, what was the name of the girl on the bus that you gave the candy to for free?
I don't remember her name.
You really don't?
No. It was so long ago.
You remember her name, man. You're just trying to act like you don't.
I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. So Becky, there's millions of Beckys out there that, whether it's a bounce house that popped or it's a customer that's going to give you a bad review on Thumbtack.
Yeah.
There's all those challenges, and we'll get more into that next time.
Absolutely.
So in the meanwhile, folks, please subscribe to us on Twitter. That's TriangleCast. Follow us on our website, TriangleCast.com. Take a look at the TriangleCast Instagram and tweet us questions.
Yes.
Mail us questions. We'd love to hear more from you. Suggest some guests. In the near future, I'm hoping to bring on some folks that are published authors, hoping to bring on some people that have built their own businesses, and then some people that are working for some of the largest corporations in the world, but they've managed to automate all the stuff they don't like doing. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
All right.